everybody, JC here with another T&I toy review. And for today's review, I'm going to be taking a look at the brand new Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice 6-inch MAFEX Superman and Batman figures from Mediacom Toys. Now these figures come packaged in pretty standardized packaging. You've got the window box, the figures are clearly displayed. Down below you have images of the figures and the name of the characters. On the top of the packaging you have the Batman vs. Superman logo. On the sides, you again just have images of the figure, and then on the back of the packaging, you have more images of the figures showing off the various poses and accessories that they come with. All right, let's get these open and take a look at what's inside. Okay, so here's a look at the figures outside of the packaging along with their other content. Each figure comes with a standard MAFEX flight stand base, and this is a clear plastic. The base itself has got the 3 holes on it, so you can put the arm in any of the holes that you want. And then you've got multiple points of articulation on the arm, here, here, and here. And they're attached with screws, so you can tighten them or loosen them however you want. So you can do it up and down here, forward and back here, and then up top here. And then you can rotate at the base, and you can rotate up here at the top. This clamp piece just attaches on with a peg, and again you've got another screw up here so you can tighten the actual clamp if you want, and then you just use this to put your figure in. The 2 figures, Batman has the more accessories. So with Batman you get various weapons. So you get his kryptonite gun, and this is done with just a black plastic. There's not much in the way of paint detail, but the sculpting on it is pretty nice. And then you get his grapple gun, and this you've got some metallic silver for the grapples that are attached to the side. They're not removable or anything, and you've got some more metallic silver here on the end, and the handle's brown, and the rest of it's just black. So this one's pretty nice detailing and looks very much like you see in the movie. Then you get a batarang, and this is done with a metallic silver, and this looks like it's metal. At first I thought they actually made this with metal, and it's got pretty sharp tips, but this is actual plastic. And then he's got a smoke, I guess this is a smoke grenade, and this is all just black. So Batman comes with 6 different pairs of hands. Now a couple of these hands seem to be a little repetitive to me, but you get a pair of just open hands with the fingers completely open. And then you get a pair of, I almost want to call these Bat-2C hands with the first 2 fingers sticking out. Then we get a pair of closed-fisted hands, and these are more shaped like he's punching something, I guess. And then we get another pair of closed-fisted hands, and these, I guess, are more for like a resting. His hands are closed, but they're resting, not to really punch something. These 2 are kind of repetitive to me. And then you get 2 different pairs of grip hands. So these, I guess, are a little bit wider open, and they do have the kind of trigger finger sticking out a little bit. And then you get a second pair of grip hands, and again these seem a little bit repetitive, but these don't seem to be quite as open. The grip doesn't seem to be quite as open as much. And the hands, they've got some metallic gold on the knuckles, and then the rest of the hand is just black. Superman only gets 3 different pairs of hands. So Superman has a pair of closed-fisted hands, and those are the ones that are attached to the figure when you take it out of the packaging. Then he's got a pair of open hands, where I would call these almost for like flight poses, how he would have his hands out, his fingers out if he was flying. And then just regular open hands with the fingers all just straight out. And these are just a skin tone, and the skin tone is pretty good on these. To switch the hands out, you just pull off the hand you want to replace, and you've got the little peg on the arm and the hole in the hand. Now this can be a little bit tricky, especially with my Batman figure. So first of all, and this is probably just with my figure, but this little ball joint has had a tendency to split on mine. It just fits together with a little peg, but I've had it come off, split apart when I've tried switching out hands a couple different times. So you can just put it back in, but it does make it a little difficult sometimes to switch the hand in and out, and then that little peg will move on you sometimes as well. But once you do get it in there, then they fit on the hand or on the arm nice and tight. Batman will hold his weapons nice and tight if you have the appropriate hand in. Now that grip hand with the little bit wider grip is the better hand to use for the kryptonite rifle, and then the smaller gripped hand is better suited for the grapple gun. Though you can use this wider grip hand with the grapple gun as well, but definitely with the rifle, you're better to go with that wider grip hand. And then the other accessories like this is probably best. These with the 2 fingers out hand is probably best for the batarang. You can put it in between the 2 fingers if you want. Now, one thing I've noticed with these MAFEX figures is these little ball joints that connect the hands to the arm. You definitely are noticeable. You can definitely see the ball between the two. It would have been nice if you could have hidden these up. Now, if you pose the hand a little bit differently, and some hands hide that ball joint a little bit more than others, so you can see with this different grip, with the larger grip hand, the ball joint's not as noticeable than with this one. But definitely that's something that you kind of notice with these MAFEX figures. And then finally, Superman comes with 2 different head sculpts. So you get the regular head sculpt, and then you get the heat vision head sculpt with the whited out eyes. And I think they've done a pretty good job with capturing the actor's likeness with these head sculpts. They definitely look pretty true to how he appears in the movie. And switching the heads is pretty easy. You just pop off the head. Now, note that the neck actually will pop off too with this figure. The neck, the bottom of the neck is attached with the ball joint. Now, if that happens, just pull off the head on the top of the neck and just push in the new head, and then you can just push in the neck there. Just be careful when you're pushing the neck in not to trap the cape underneath it, but it'll pop in nice and tight. So for the figures themselves, starting with Superman, I think they've done a pretty nice job. As I mentioned with the head sculpt, I think they did a good job of capturing the actor's likeness with that. And then I like the metallic type paint that they've used throughout the figure with the blue and the red and the yellow on his S shield. It picks up the lighting really nice. And then you've got this lighter blue striping throughout the costume here in his midsection and on his arms and down his legs. So I think that all looks really good. And then you've got the maroon color for the boots. And you've got that texturing throughout the entire outfit as well, so which is sculpted, and I think that looks pretty good. Now the cape is a soft goods cape, and it's definitely long. It comes down over his feet, and it bunches up here in the corner. You do have some wiring in the bottom corners of each side of the cape, so that does help with some posing of the cape. Now I do have some string tattering here, up here, near where it attaches to the body of the figure. You can see here there's a little piece of string sticking out, and here near his neck. So that's my only real fault with the figures is the string tattering as far as the way it looks. But otherwise, I think it's a good solid paint job. I like the face sculpt, and the costume looks pretty true to how it appeared in the movie. For Batman, again, I think they've done a pretty good job with capturing the actor's likeness. Now with Batman, it's a little harder to tell because his face is mostly covered up, but it looks pretty true with the mask and everything. Looks pretty true to how he appeared in the movie. I like the skin tone, and it looks like he's got some 5 o'clock shadow there around his chin and, you know, over his lip and stuff. So I like that extra detail with the shadowing there on the skin tone, and you can see his eyes through the mask, which is nice. And then the mask itself is just a black color, and then you've got the gray for the costume. You've got the texturing throughout on both the costume, the gray parts with the line work throughout like you see in the movie, and then you've got the texturing on the bat symbol, which is sculpted on the figure. And then you've got the black gloves with these things that stick out on the bottom of his gloves are painted a dark gold color, same as his utility belt, and you've got the pouches and everything sculpted on there, so that looks pretty good. And then he's got the boots with the gold tips on the boots. And the cape, like with Superman, is a soft goods cape. Now with Batman's cape, it's got a longer wire. The wire actually goes all the way down the sides of the cape, so Batman's cape is more posable than Superman's cape. And also with Batman's cape, it's got a more silky look to it than Superman's, and it's not quite as long. It does still come down past his feet, and it's a little bit tattered on the bottom of the cape. So these figures stand at about 6.5 inches each. They're pretty close to the same height to one another, so I wouldn't say the scale is perfect. I think in the movie, Batman, Ben Affleck, is a little bit taller than Superman, Henry Cavill, so I would actually always think that Superman should be taller, but in the actual movie, I think Batman is the one that's a bit taller. But these two figures are actually the same height. Here's a comparison with the Mattel Multiverse Batman and Superman figure. So you can see that this Batman Multiverse figure is a little bit taller than the MAFEX Batman, and then the Multiverse Superman is a little bit shorter than the MAFEX Superman. Here's a comparison with the MAFEX armored Batman figure that I reviewed the other week, and you can see the armored Batman is maybe a hair taller than the regular Batman and Superman, but again, I would say the scale is not perfect among these. Just for a few more comparisons, here's a comparison with the SH Figure Art Civil War Captain America figure, and then the MAFEX Christian Bale Batman figure, and the Christian Bale Batman figure is maybe a hair taller than the Ben Affleck Batman figure. So for articulation, it's pretty much the same between the two figures, and while they do have a good range of motion, the joints do come off as a little bit loose to me on these figures. So with Batman, you can turn the head to the left and to the right, and you've got good down movement. You've got movement at the top of the head or the top of the neck, and then the bottom of the neck as well. So you've got good down movement, and they can look up pretty good as well. Arms attached with a ball type joint, so Batman can get his arm out about that much, and he's got good rotation. You can kind of pull the joint out a little bit to get a little bit more movement there. And then you've got a bicep swivel, you've got a double hinged elbow, so good bending there. You've got swivels at the wrist, and then you've got those ball hinge joints, so you've got good up and down movement there. You've got the midsection joint, so good rotation there, and can crunch down pretty good and can look back pretty good there at the midsection. And then you've got the upper body is attached to the lower body with the ball joint, so again, you've got rotation there at the waist, and you've got some forward movement and a little bit of back movement there. Legs attached with a ball type joint, so you can get the legs out good, and you can kind of pull them down and out to get more movement as well, but then you get separation between the waist and the leg. But you can get the leg forward good, and you can get the leg back about that much with the way the butt is sculpted. And then you've got rotation up high there. You've got double jointed knees, so good bending at the knees, and then you've got the ball joints at the feet, so you've got back and forth movement, you've got rotation, and you got a little bit of pivot there. You have toe articulation as well, and then no peg holes on the bottom of the feet. Superman, I just want to point out, his head motion is not quite as good as Batman's. He can't look down as much. He can look down about that much, and he can look up about that much, and he can get his arm out more than Batman though, so he can get his arm all the way out, and he's got good rotation there. Otherwise, the articulation between the two figures is almost identical. With Superman's head, you can get him in pretty good flight poses. You can get the head back enough with the neck, the lower part of the neck, you can move back enough to get the head forward for flight poses, which is pretty good. However, you do want to be careful. This neck piece, as I showed you before, does have a tendency to pop out pretty easily. Okay, so that's my review. Overall, I like these figures. I like the detailing. I like the face sculpt on the Superman figure. Batman comes with some pretty decent accessories. These are definitely nicer looking than the Mattel Multiverse figures, which is to be expected. I don't know how they're going to compare with the upcoming DC Collectibles movie figures, so that'll be interesting to see. But overall, I think these are pretty nice figures. The articulation is decent. However, the joints do seem a little bit loose to me. I have had some issues with the Superman head popping off there at the neck, and then that ball hinge joint with the wrist on Batman, but otherwise I haven't had any major breakage issues. I've heard some people have breakage issues with their Batman figure, but knock on wood, I have not had that problem. So both of these figures are hitting now. Any place that sells imported MAFEX figures should have these in stock. We'll have a full image gallery up at toynewseye.com. There'll be a link in the video description below. As always, leave a comment, let us know what you think. If you're so inclined, please like the video. Also, if you haven't already, please follow me on my Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram accounts. I'll have links to those in the video description below. And until next time, I'll catch you later.